Okay, let me do the prayer. Aitya, do you want to do the prayers, ma? Om Agyana. I'll join you, okay? Om Agyana
Somagyanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakhaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena
Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya
Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine
Namne Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Bhashaita Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna
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 Krishna Hare
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 Hare Rama Rama
Rama Hare Hare.
Rama Hare Krishna kids, are you all able to hear me clearly?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, good.
Yes, Mataji.
Wonderful. All right, so today we can get started with our Srimad Bhagavatam class and then we can go into moral stories. Without any further ado, we can get started, okay? All right, Aditya, do you want to share your first slide? The second slide, please. All right, so this slide talks about Dhritarashtra is now performing Ashtanga Yoga. So he's into the eightfold process, eightfold mystic process, okay? And Dhritarashtra is wanting to realize the God. That is the Paramatma realization he wants to get in. And that's why he's performing the Ashtanga Yoga. Okay, then next slide. So in this verse, that is the 56th verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, Dhritarashtra, it says, Dhritarashtra had attained by the yogic process the stage of negation of all sorts of material reaction. So we are able to understand that now we are able to understand that Dhritarashtra is into this mystic process, eightfold mystic process. What are the stages of Ashtanga Yoga? Does anybody know? Yama, Niyama. Does anybody know what it is? Do you want to take a guess or do you want to try?
Yama, Niyama.
Then.
I know there's also asana, pratyahara, I think.
Yeah, that is right. Yes, you're right, Aditya. What else? Dhyana. Does anybody know what dhyana is? Dhyana is meditation, right?
Yama, Niyama,
Yeah.
Pranayama,
Mm.
Dharanya, Samadhi.
Wonderful. So Yama, Niyama, Asana. Asana. So Yama means the do's. Niyamas are what are the don'ts. So the Yama, Niyama, and then we have asanas, which are the physical postures. Then we have pranayama, which is nothing but the breath control, right? Pratyahara means withdrawal of the senses from the sense objects. Dharana and dhyana. So these are all the different types of limbs of Ashtanga Yoga. And this is what our Dhritarashtra wanted to do. And this is what he was involved in actually. So now we need to understand that, so Dhritarashtra, he was doing this Ashtanga Yoga, but with Ashtanga Yoga, would you be able to get the love of Godhead? What does love of Godhead mean?
You love God?
You love God, but what is the way? How would you know you are in love with God? Okay, can I tell I'm in love with God now? When can I?
Surrendering unto Krishna.
Okay, when we go to Krishna, how do I know? See, this Dhritarashtra, he was also one form, Paramatma, right? He was with Paramatma. He's also a form of Krishna. Why is that not love of Godhead? So how do we know if a person is the love of Godhead? What is that that would say, okay, he is in love with Godhead. What is that parameter that actually defines the love of Godhead?
If we do any work as per the Lord's desire.
You work as per Lord's desire, okay. But
All
okay,
of the senses are engaged in Krishna's service.
all of the senses are engaged in Krishna's service. That's a very good point. Yes. For this person who is in love of Godhead, all the senses, each and every limb is actually in the love of Godhead. All of you guys have to listen attentively. As you know, I'll be asking question and answer session before we go into the moral story session. Now we are actually discussing about Dhritarashtra attaining the doing Ashtanga Yoga, through which he is going to attain perfection now through this eightfold mystic process. And we saw what that eightfold mystic process was. Yama, Niyama, all that we saw. Moving on, I asked this question about how do we know one is in love with God? And for that, Mukund said all the senses should be engaged in the service of the Lord. And that is how you can find out that that person is in love with Godhead. Okay, let me engage my senses in the service of Lord. But I'm doing it. But I'm still not in love with God. Mukund, what do you say for that? Or anybody else? Do you want to say?
Then all your senses are not towards Krishna.
That means I'm not fully, see, somewhere I'm having some distraction. That's why I'm not kind of in love with Godhead. Okay, so whenever we are in love with Godhead, there is a relationship that gets established. That relationship is what defines a person to say that he is in love with God. What is that relationship? Some can be in Dasyaras, right? We know that is the servitude form. Vatsalyaras, where you have the parental relationship, right? Where you're going to have a friendship with Krishna, that is Sakyaras. And where you're going to have conjugal love with Krishna, that is Madhurya Rasa. So when Ras comes into play, whenever that Rasa comes into play, that means you're engaged in a relationship with the Lord. Are you able to understand, kids? And that is one we can clearly say, right now, I'm not, having any kind of, I have an eternal relationship with the Lord, but I have forgotten that relationship to the Lord. Say, for example, you are having a passcode. You have a lot of jewels in the bank account, but you forgot the passcode. Of course, you'll be able to retrieve the bank account or passcode through which you can access all the jewels. But right now, I don't know. How can I access my jewels? I need to perform devotional service. That is when I will know. That is when I'll be able to unlock that relationship and find out, okay, I'm in Dasyava Ras with Krishna. And this is the way I want to serve Krishna. We have so many kids here, right? Each of you have a rasa with Krishna. Each of you have a relationship with the Lord. And through that relationship is when we would understand that we are in love with the Lord. Right now, we are hankering for it. We are eagerly hankering. We are wanting, I want to go and play with Krishna. I want to do this with Krishna. I want to do that with Krishna. Right now, we are in the hankering mode, where we are in mode of eagerness, so as to speak. And with that eagerness, slowly and steadily, we will rise to the platform of love of Godhead. It is not easy. It is going to be difficult, but we have to overcome that and somehow get to the love of Godhead platform. Are you all clear, kids? When we establish a relationship or rasa with the Lord, then we will know that we are actually in love with the Lord. Okay, kids?
Yes, Mataji.
And that happens after bhava, that is the blossoming of love, and then with prema, it's a fully blossomed love. So we have to cross Nishta, we have to cross Ruchi, we have to cross Ashakti, and then enter Bhava. Bhava, then Prema. So for that, first of all, our anarthas have to go. You should not get angry. There should not be any greed. There should not be any lust. Only when we get through the anarthas, we can get through that stage of first getting into Nishta, where the devotional service is sort of study. That means, when we go to vacation, say, for example, we will not lax on our, we will not lax and say, oh, I'm not doing chanting today because we have gone on vacation. No, in Ishta stage, you are kind of steady in your devotional service. Whatever be the circumstance, you will say, I have to chant now. There's no distraction in that stage. Okay? So we need to pray to the Lord that we come through these stages and come to the Prema platform eventually. Aditya. So the second point that talks about this slide is that effects of the material moods draw the victim to defatigable desires of enjoying matter, but one can escape this false enjoyment by this yogic process. So Dhritarashtra here is doing very, very good yogic process. This eightfold limbs of yogic process is very tough. He's able to do the do's, he's able to do the don't, he's able to follow through the don'ts, he's able to do a perfect asana procedure, and then he's able to withdraw the senses from the sense objects by breathing properly. All this he's able to do. And by this, he's able to control the modes. So what happens with the modes? So sometimes because of the modes, when we are angry, that means we are in a mode of passion. When we are ignorant about something, we are in the mode of ignorance. See, blatantly we make a mistake. That means we didn't know that what was the consequence it was going to lead to. So now this person, he's Dhritarashtra, he's not affected by the modes anymore, and he's not having attachment to the matter anymore, because pratyahara, he's able to control the withdraw his senses from the sense objects. So through this yogic process, he's not succumbing to the modes, but he's not, but he's able to definitely transcend, because to go to Paramatma realization, you have to transcend the modes, because anything that has to do with the spirit has to transcend the stage of the modes. Are you able to understand the second point? The third point is every sense is always busy in searching for its food, and thus the conditioned soul is assaulted from all the sides and has no chance to become steady in any pursuit. Oh, the senses, it can attack us anytime. Oh, if you see a rasagulla, you get attracted. You see a car, you get attracted. The eyes gets attracted. If you see a aeroplane, maybe your eyes gets attracted. If you hear some cinema music or some worldly song, your ears get attracted. Why don't we do all this? Why can't I hear a song which is non-devotional? What's the problem right there? What is wrong if my senses are taking me to that song? It's kind of good. It makes me feel happy. Why can't I listen to that song? What's wrong about it? Yes, Rudra.
It attaches.
Like we're not listening. Like sometimes if someone listens to some other songs like that, they might get attracted to only that and not kirtan.
So then our attraction for Kirtan will go down. Is that why you said?
Yeah, Mataji.
Okay, good job. Okay, Mukund, go ahead.
Mataji, could I?
Yeah, after that. After Mukund, Suraj can go. Yes.
Because then our senses will get attracted to that and we will like that more than Krishna.
Yeah, senses will get attracted to that non-devotional music more. And eventually what will happen? You'll start to forget Krishna. Right? That is sort of directing us to a fall down, isn't it? So we need to increase our hankering for Krishna. And if we start to focus on so many other things, there is a distraction, that is a diversion. It is anything that takes away from Krishna, takes us away from Krishna, it's not favorable for devotional service. Right? So we need to utilize our time in a best possible way, as much as possible. Okay. And if we are really tempted about something, we need to keep a watch on us. Oh, let me draw a line here and say, okay, I have to restrict myself. I should not watch maybe 20 minutes, more than 20 minutes. If I watch, then my mind is going to get corrupted. So let me stop right here. Or you must have a watch on yourself whenever you are indulging in non-Krishna conscious activities. Okay. So this is what is the understanding. So our senses are always busy in searching for its own food, and thus the conditioned soul, it's assaulted means it is kind of murdered in different directions. You put your senses, your leg is pulling you in this direction, your hands pulling you in this direction, your eyes is wanting to do something. So in this way, our various senses are being pulled in different directions. And there is no chance to become steady in devotional service. So we need to be watchful on that. All right, next slide, Aditya. Maharaj Yudhishthira was advised by Narada not to disturb his uncle by bringing him back home. So now we see that Yudhishthira is having his uncle and aunt and everybody at home. And when person like Yudhishthira happens to see his relatives go away, he feels bad. Oh my God, my relative is going away. Maybe I should go and stop him because he's wanting to go away from me. But Narada is instructing. Narada knows. He's thinking about the higher goal. The higher goal for Dhritarashtra is now to achieve Godhead, right? I mean, the sense he's doing Ashtanga Yoga, so Paramatma realization is what is his goal. Impersonal liberation, but still he's going after that, which is higher goal than sitting at home, right? So Narada is saying you should not disturb him because he's going to do Ashtanga Yoga and perfect his life by getting Paramatma realization. So let's not stop him from doing that. He was now beyond the attraction of anything material. So Dhritarashtra is very, very keen on worshipping the Lord, and he is now not attracted to anything material. The material modes of nature, the guna, have their different modes of activities, but above the material modes of nature is the spiritual mode, which is the absolute. So we know. Oh, sorry, Suraj, you wanted to say something, right? Go ahead, dear. I'm sorry.
I was waiting.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Actually, I forgot, and I'm having a phone here. I cannot see anybody. So I'm very blinded. Sorry. Go ahead, dear Suraj.
Yes, so Mataji,
Mm.
for the previous slide, you were saying the thing about why we shouldn't like listen to all the
Music, yeah.
songs. Mataji, music and videos are like sort of like artificial association. And if you're associating with bad things, then you will become like that.
Yes, very good point. So we see whenever we talk about bad, Suraj brings an excellent point here. Kids, he's saying association also means association with TV, association with music, association with YouTube, association with the things that you are attached to. So we should be careful about our associations, just not physical friends alone. It's the YouTube channel that you might be watching, and that's also association, right? And it could be the music that you're hearing too. That is also a form of association. So we should be really, really careful of our association in terms of internet. Internet, we know it is net and it is going to pull you down. It's going to attack you. It is going to net. Net is going to, like net will catch the fish, like that it is catching all of us. All the living entities are caught in the net. So we need to be really alert about our association with YouTube, cinema songs, or other kind of musics, and so on and so forth. Excellent point, Suraj. I love that point. So it's also association with our mind. Sometimes we associate with the mind. We think we are mind and act in some whimsical way. That association also must be watchful of. We should be careful about it. Okay. So many associations, bad associations we have within us. And apart from that, we have the outside world, which is in the form of internet. And then we have our physical friends. So we need to be careful about all these associations. All right. So now we understand that Dhritarashtra is beyond these modes and material modes of nature, the gunas, they have the different modes of activities, but above the material mode is what? Spiritual mode, which is absolute. Aditya, can you move on, dear? Now we are coming to the next verse. Here it talks about translation. O king, he will quit his body most probably on the 5th day from today, and his body will turn into ashes. So Narada Muni, what did he do? He prohibited Yudhishthira Maharaj from going to the place where his uncle was staying Because even after quitting by his body, by his own mystic power, Dhritarashtra would not be in need of any funeral ceremony. Why? Because Narada, he's saying that his body by itself will burn into ashes. The perfection of the yoga system is attained by such mystic power. The yogi is able to quit his body by his own choice at any time and attain the planet he desires by turning the present body into ashes by self-made fire. So from this, we can understand that this Ashtanga Yogi, Dhritarashtra, he will be able to give up his body whenever he wants, at whatever point of time. And when he thinks, when he closes his eyes and when he decides on his destination to go, he will just go to that destination by worshipping the Lord. So that is the power that he has. That is the mystic power that this Ashtanga Yoga can give to a person. So that time when Dhritarashtra is meditating on the Lord and when he has reached the stage of Samadhi, what will happen is he will start to think about the destination and he will be burnt into ashes automatically. So there is no need of any kind of funeral ceremony performed for Dhritarashtra because his body himself will be burnt into ashes by this mystic Ashtanga Yoga process. Okay, kids, are you able to understand the slide?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, good. So this is very important. Okay, next slide, Aditya. Okay, while outside observing her husband, now we are talking about Gandhari, right? Gandhari is the wife of Dhritarashtra. And what is she doing? While observing her husband, who will burn in the fire of mystic power along with his thatched cottage, his chaste wife will enter the fire with rapt attention. So now we'll talk about Gandhari. What is she going to do? Gandhari is an ideal chaste lady, a life companion of her husband. And therefore, when she saw her husband burning in the fire of mystic yoga, along with a cottage of leaves, she despaired. She left home, losing her 100 sons, and for as she saw her husband was also burning, and she actually felt alone, and she entered into the fire along with her husband and followed her husband to death. So now what did Gandhari do? Gandhari also happened to give up her life along with her husband. This is what a chaste wife would do in those days. She was not forced by anybody. Oh, Gandhari, you have to also die with your husband. Nothing like that. She just automatically had that move to go and burn. I mean, since she saw her husband was burning in the fire with a cottage of leaves, she also felt desperate. And she, what did she do? Because you remember, Kauravas are all dead now. Nobody is there. And the forest, she came along with her husband. And then he was also burning. And seeing that, she actually entered into the fire and followed her husband to death. This was the condition of Gandhari. Okay, moving on. Next question. Next slide. I'm sorry. Aditya. So this entering of a chaste lady into the fire of her dead husband is called sati. And the action is considered to be the most perfect for a woman. In later age, this sati became an obnoxious criminal affair because ceremony was forced upon unwilling women. In this fallen age, it is not possible for any lady to follow sati as chastely as it was done by Gandhari and others in the past ages. So very important to note. Gandhari was able to do sati, and sati is nothing but following her husband. She just voluntarily follows her husband to death. That is sati. And this kind of thing was forced upon people because they were not willing to do that kind of sacrifice after the husband's death, but the wives were forced upon to die with their husbands, which was not recommended. In this age of Kali, we cannot follow this process of sati because we women are not chaste like Gandhari or others in the past decade. Chaste wife like Gandhari would feel separation of her husband to be burning than an actual fire. So why is she Gandhari able to do this? Because she was burning in the fire of separation, and that fire of separation is more intense than a burning fire. That is why she doesn't mind going in the fire. Are you all able to understand this point? I want everybody to understand this point because this will be one of the questions I'll ask.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, so the fire of separation in her is more than, it's so intense that she wouldn't mind committing herself to death in the fire, in the actual fire. Such a lady can observe the sati voluntarily, right? Because there's no forcing by anyone. When a rite became a formality and force was applied upon the lady to follow that, actually it became criminal, because you're trying to actually push a lady who's not interested in committing herself, going with her husband to die. She doesn't want to do it, but you're forcing herself. So you're behaving like a criminal, right? That is what Srila Prabhupada is saying here. The
Mataji,
prophecy. Yes,
I have a question.
go ahead,
Would,
dear.
wouldn't like Gandhari went into the fire following her husband, but
Hmm.
wouldn't that be called suicide?
No, it is not suicide, because see, that's what I mean. The thing is, a chaste lady would do it, meaning she loves her husband, and because of that love, she is actually she's actually there is that intense fire of separation from her husband, and she voluntarily does this act, and it is also recommended. A chaste woman can do.
Mukund, it's
Because
a
remember,
ritual, and that's why she can do that.
yeah, it is recommended. And Mukund, remember, Gandhari blindfolded herself for her husband. So right from the beginning, she's always been a chaste wife to her husband. Okay, dear?
Mataji. Yes, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji.
That's fine. Thank you, dear Mukund. Thank you, dear Suraj. So now this prophecy of Narada Muni to Maharaj Yudhishthira forbade him to go to his widowed aunt. So that's why Yudhishthira didn't stop Gandhari also. Okay. All right. So now Yudhishthira didn't stop Dhritarashtra because he should perform Ashtanga Yoga and attain the Paramatma realization. For the same reason, since he's a chaste wife, he did not stop his aunt, right? He did not stop his aunt from doing this kind of act also. Okay, moving on to the next slide, Aditya. Aditya, can you just somehow shorten the screen or do something? I'm not able to see fully. Oh, okay,
What
I
do you
can
mean?
see it. Yeah. No,
Oh,
I
okay.
can. In my
Sorry.
end, I had to do it. Okay. Vidura, being affected with delight and grief, will then leave that place of sacred pilgrimage. Now, so Vidura was in delight. Why? Because now he is finally, Dhritarashtra, he told so many times, Dhritarashtra, you're wasting your life, you're in kind of ignorance mode, you're so attached to Yudhishthira, sorry, Duryodhana, and you're doing so many bad things. All this he advised, but for Dhritarashtra, it will go in this year and come out, and the advice will go here, but it will come out in the other year. He'll never follow through the advice. There are some people who never wants to follow any kind of advice. They have their own mind and they will think, okay, whatever I am doing is what it's right. My parents now, they are just forcing me to do something. I'm not at all interested in it, but still they are forcing me into so many things. It might be a little tricky, because initially it may seem as if they are forcing you to do so many things, but it's all at the end of the day, when you become a big boy, when you become a parent, you will understand, okay, whatever my parents did, that is all good for me, and I should do the same thing to my child also. So this is what will be the understanding. And now Vidra, he was delighted, because obviously, right, Dhritarashtra has finally gotten to realize Paramatma, and he's into this eightfold mystic process. So he's happy about that in one way. And then he's also in grief. Of course, he's in grief because he's not become a Vaishnava yet. He's not going to attain the love of Godhead, right? Impersonal liberation is what he's going to attain. And so that's why he's kind of grief. He's also sad about that same fact. So he's happy and he's sad. So this will be one of the other questions I will ask you. What is the reason for his grief and delight? Okay, kids?
Mataji, Rudra has a question.
Yeah, Rudra. Okay, go ahead, Rudra.
I didn't have a question, Mataji. I just wanted to read something.
Okay. No, I'll have a question and answer session, Rudra. In another 10 minutes, you'll be asked questions. That time you'll be able to interact. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. The thing is, I'm reading because I'll be explaining at the same time. Otherwise, there will be a lot of wastage of time in between. That's why, dear Rudra. I'm so sorry. So Vidura was astonished to see the marvelous departure of his brother Dhritarashtra as a liberated yogi, for in his past life he was much attached to materialism. So he was so much attached to kingdom, so much attached to lot of material things. He was attached to Duryodhana. Now he is seeing marvelous departure of Dhritarashtra. See, because he is going to get liberation, right? So he's just very, very happy about it. Of course, it was only due to Vidura that his brother attained the desirable goal of life. Vidura was therefore glad to learn about it because Vidura, he was so persistent that Dhritarashtra must do something worthwhile in his life. So if you become a doctor, engineer, or a lawyer, is that the goal of life? All of you always
No,
do some
Mataji.
homeworks, your studies. But if you forget about God and if you neglect the chanting, if you neglect this devotional service, then are you trying to balance your life?
No.
No, you're not trying to balance your life. So how do some of you all balance your life? Can you give me examples like what do you do? How do you balance your devotional life and material life or your studies? I'll give you chances so you can go one by one. Raise your hands. Okay, Rudra, go ahead.
Like use like if you have to go to work every day, then you stay there for about 7 or 5 hours, and then you or some time, and then when you come back home, like you can do some chanting, and then you can balance out all the devotional service. So like you do your work on one half of the day, and then you do the your devotional service on the other half of the day.
Okay, Mukund, go ahead.
Mataji, in the morning we should pray and do some chanting, and then we'll do all the material activities like going to school or office, and those things. And then when we come back also, then we should also where we are, like in the material place, we should also think about Krishna only, and eat only prasad.
Mukund, it is hard to hear you.
And then when we come back, we should also continue the same thing. And then at night we should read Krishna book and then sleep.
Good routine. So Mukund, he says we have to complete our chanting so that way we set our mind to towards the Lord the first thing in the morning, and everything will be auspicious as it happens during the day. That is the first point. Can you all understand this point? This will be one other question. So the question is why we should have finish the chanting in the morning or just start off with the chanting. What is the right? Why is it right to do that? And Mukund says after you go to your school or anything also, we should never try to forget the Lord. We should always be in remembrance of the Lord and perform the material activities. And he says, no, you should not be tempted by the food that you see in the school or any kind of other places. You should always be eating prasadam. Whatever you want, you make at home and you eat that as a prasadam, and that will fulfill you and that will take care of you.
Mataji,
Yeah. And then he
I
said,
do
one more
eat
point here. One more point. And then he said, Krishna book and read Krishna book in the night and then sleep. Because that way you're also remembering the Lord. And in the night you sleep off thinking about Krishna, not thinking about anything else. Sometimes we talk about material things, right? We play some unnecessary games thinking about material things and then we sleep, then our consciousness becomes bad, right? Then we will wake up with the same mood. So that is why Mukund advises all of us to always stay Krishna conscious at all points in time. Suraj, go ahead, dear.
Mataji, I was trying to say I am not following the rule where you can't eat from the school, because Mataji, I do eat from the school. My parents try to find whatever vegetarian options, and then I offer to Krishna.
And then you offer to Krishna. Yeah, whenever there is a whenever the sounds such that you can't, as much as possible, we should avoid. Okay, that's what I said. All right, let's move on to the next slide, Aditya.
Mataji,
Yes, dear Mukund.
I heard in one lecture that one Pravati had said that if it is not possible to avoid eating from outside food, then we should try to take anything that is possible to be vegetarian and without all the things that we are not allowed to eat. And then we should, in our mind only, we should offer it to Krishna and then eat.
Okay, so Suraj, here you go. That's what he's doing. Suraj is doing that. He's offering to the Lord and he's just seeing all the possible options that he has, and then he's able to present that to the Lord in his mind, and then he eats the prasadam. I mean, by offering it mentally. Okay, sounds good. We'll move on to the next slide. Thank you, Mukund and Suraj. Let's go to the next slide here. Okay, so Vidura was certainly very liberal to bestow mercy upon his brother Dhritarashtra, whose past life was, this is done, I think. Yeah. No, let's just do it.
We're not done with this slide.
Yeah. But ultimately, the result of mercy certainly dependent on the will of the Lord in his present life. Therefore, Dhritarashtra attained liberation only, and after many such liberated states of life, one can attain the stage of devotional service. So what we are practicing now, it's not easy. Not everybody gets to practice pure devotional service. Do you see that? Dhritarashtra now he has attained only liberation. And after many such liberations only, you will be able to that also through the mercy of the devotees only we can attain this devotional service. Whenever somebody comes in contact with a devotee, at that time only, if we have that faith, then with Shraddha, everything else follows along. Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anarthana, like that. Okay. So with the first, initially it's the mercy of the devotees, right? Through the mercy of the devotees, we are going to get this devotional faith. And that is very, very durlabham. It is not, not anybody and everybody has that devotional faith. And that is available to us. So it is through the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and through the devotees that we are able to be in this Krishna conscious movement. And we should be very, very fortunate. We should feel really blessed and utilize our time in Krishna consciousness. Vidura was certainly very mortified by the death of his brother and sister-in-law, and only remedy to mitigate such lamentation was to go out on pilgrimage. So Yudhishthira had no chance to call back Vidura also, his surviving uncle. Yudhishthira, if you look at him, he lost the Kauravas, he lost his uncle Dhritarashtra, he lost his aunt Gantari, and now he has Vidura. He's the only surviving uncle, but Vidura, he has to go on to a pilgrimage because he's fully filled with lamentation because his brother is no more and his wife is also no more. So, Dhritarashtra's wife is also no more. So he has to get some sort of remedy for his lamentation out through some means, and for that he has to go to remember the Lord. So that is the only way he will be able to get out of this misery. And so he had to go on pilgrimage, and that is why Yudhishthira didn't stop Vidura from going also. So this is another question. Why did Yudhishthira not stop Vidura? Okay, so that will be answered in this particular purport. Okay, go ahead.
Did not stop?
Yeah, he did not stop him from going into pilgrimage because he was lamenting for the death of his brother and brother's wife. Go ahead, dear. Next slide. Last slide. Okay, so now we can see that Nardaji is an eternal spaceman, right? Having endowed with a spiritual body by the grace of the Lord. So the spiritual body, we cannot have it by our own will. Okay, let me have a spiritual body. Come on, let me change my clothes and get spiritual body. That doesn't happen by our will. It happens through the grace of the Lord. We put in our endeavor, but up to Krishna for us to get that kind of body that we would deserve. He can travel in the outer space of both the material and spiritual world without any kind of restriction, right? He can go to any planet, any space, right? He does. Time and space is not a problem for him. Within no time, he can go from one planet to another planet carrying his veena. We have already discussed about his previous life as a son of maid servant. Because of his association with pure devotees, because he served Bhakti Vedantas, right? During his time, we saw that Narada Muni was serving the Bhakti Vedantas. Because of serving the Bhakti Vedantas, that is the pure devotees of the Lord, he got elevated to the position of an eternal spaceman. And thus he had this freedom of movement to go from one place to another place. And Maharaj Yudhishthira was a very pious king, and therefore he could see Narada Muni occasionally. Because of his spiritual credits, and because of that reason only, he was able to get the advice of Narada Muni. Narada Muni only told him, oh, stop, Yudhishthira. Don't disturb the Dhritarashtra. Don't disturb his wife Gandhari. Don't disturb Vidura. So this is all given by the instruction of Narada Muni. Yudhishthira was able to follow through it and see the goal very clearly. Why Narada Muni is saying so like that? Anyone who desires to see Narada Muni must first become pious, that is, attain some spiritual credits and follow in the footsteps of Narada Muni. This is the way we will be able to see Narada Muni. Okay, so now with this, I think Aditya, is it done? I mean, next slide. I don't think so, right? We are done.
Done, Mataji.
Okay, so what kind of process was Dhritarashtra into? What was that? Krishna Naina. What was that process that Dhritarashtra was in?
He was in the process of like
to attain the impersonal liberation, he was into what
yeah,
kind of process?
because he
No,
had
what
to,
was that process?
it was like this. He had to go to the
Starts with A.
Hmm?
Okay, let's
Can I
see.
answer?
Rudra. Rudra, go ahead, dear.
What am I supposed to say, Mataji?
What was the process that Dhritarashtra was in?
He
Dhritarashtra
was
performed
doing
what?
Ashtanga yoga.
Yes, he performed Ashtanga Yoga, the eightfold mystic process. Okay, and okay. Okay, so can you tell me what are some of the things that Dhritarashtra was able to give up through the process of Ashtanga Yoga? Aditya.
So he was able to give up all his sense, all what he liked. He was able to get rid of all of his too much love toward Duryodhana, all of his material desires, and he got rid of all the material all of the reactions in general.
Correct. So the material modes, I mean, all that kind of false enjoyment that happens with the material modes of nature, it was given up by Dhritarashtra. And the senses, right? The senses always look for pleasure, seeing the sense objects. He was able to withdraw his senses from the sense objects because of there's one Ashtanga Yoga process which takes care of that. Do you know what that is? I know that you told during that time when we are discussing. One process in Ashtanga Yoga takes care of senses going towards sense objects. What is that? Okay. Pratyahara. So,
Pratyahara.
hello. Yeah, it is Pratyahara. So these things, he was able to give up attachments, like Aditya said, the material attachments are given up by Dhritarashtra towards all the material things and possessions and all of that sort. He had no desires, material desires, and his senses was not searching after sense objects. And he became steady in the process of Ashtanga Yoga. Okay. So next question. Okay, why did why did Narada Muni not ask Yudhishthira to bring back his uncle? Okay, 1 minute. Who's okay? Why? Okay, why did Mukund go ahead?
Mataji, what's the question again?
Why did Yudhishthira not I mean, why did Narada Muni say, Yudhishthira, don't just disturb Dhritarashtra, let him to go?
Because Dhritarashtra was on the good path, and Dhritarashtra was on the path to go to the impersonal Brahman. That's why.
That is why he said, no problem, let him to go. Let's not disturb him. He's going in the right direction after so many attempts of Vidura telling him, go, do this, do this. Finally, somehow he got a sense of realization to do this. So let's not stop him from that.
That's like the first good thing he did in his life.
Yes. So let's also try to do some good things in our lives so that we are also trying to attract personalities and following the footsteps of Narada Muni, right? He did so many good things in his life. Narada Muni, wherever he went, he did only good things, right? So let's take his example. We're also very happy for Dhritarashtra. At least he is able
Mataji,
to obtain impersonal liberation. Yeah.
is there moral stories today?
Yes, dear. I'm going to complete the question and answer session and then only I'll do moral stories. Okay?
Mataji, I have one more thing.
Yeah, I'll ask you question, Suraj. You tell me that.
Mukund just said that Dhritarashtra was like the bad person, and that was the first
He
thing
didn't
he
say.
did.
He didn't say he's a bad person. He just said that's a great thing that he did in his life. It's one of the
Yeah,
good
but
things that he did.
Mataji, I'm trying to say that like Dhritarashtra, I think he was a good person before Duryodhana came up, and Duryodhana is the one who influenced him.
No, we cannot see. Yeah, of course, the people influence, but we have to take ownership on ourselves as well. See, Kaikeyi was put into the influence of mantra. Had he been a wise person or had she been a wise lady, she would have stopped the association of mantra, right? I mean, we need to take ownership of ourselves, committing mistakes. We cannot blame
Mataji,
others for our mistakes.
in a lecture I heard that from Amalendra Prabhu that the pastime was that he was envious because Pandu became king, and then
Of course, yeah.
he
So
wanted his sons to be king, so he just took force from the kingdom, and he became the king instead of the Pandavas.
yeah, he became, see, the thing is, because he was blind, I mean, the thing is, after Pandu left the world, somebody had to take care of the kingdom, and interim position, Dhritarashtra was given the kingdom. Okay, you take it, Dhritarashtra, because the sons are too young to now take over the kingdom. You Pandu sons are too young, so you take care of it till the time Pandu sons become elder. So after they become elder, you have to hand it over. That was the promise. But then Dhritarashtra, because he was so attached to the kingdom and the position, name, fame, glory, and all that, he didn't want to give up that position. And so obviously the Duryodhana, he followed him, and he started to tell his dad, oh, I really want to become the king. There's nobody else who can become the king. So all this envy, hatred, all that started to creep in, right? Jealousy, all that started to creep in, and finally they became victims to that. Okay, now why did Gandhari, why was Gandhari not stopped? Who wants to answer?
I think you can look and say.
Yeah, Mukund just said, okay, Isha, go ahead. Oh, Mukund, you didn't say anything? Okay, Isha, go ahead.
Because Dhritarashtra went into fire, and because of love, I think that's why
Very good.
Gandhari went in the fire.
Yeah, because of that fire of separation was more than the actual fire. So she went into the fire voluntarily. Nobody did force her, right? Then nobody said you go and fall in the fire. She voluntarily did it.
Yes,
Out of her
Mataji.
own love for the very good Isha. Love it. Okay, so why was Vidura not stopped? Mukund, with this we will end. Okay, go ahead.
Vidura was not stopped because he was lamenting a lot that his brother left the world. That's why he was lamenting a lot, and that's why he was let to go to the forest.
Yeah, and that's why he went into pilgrimage, and that's why Yudhishthira didn't stop him, because the only way he can come out of the lamentation is by seeking the Lord, by remembering the Lord, and that can be done through when we go in a pilgrimage, right? Go in a tour to see Krishna. So when you see and associate with Krishna, you'll forget all the miseries that you have in your life. Okay. Okay. With this, we'll go to our moral stories. Aditya, share one of the moral stories, dear.
Mataji, which one?
Anything, whatever you want.
Are we doing all three of them?
No, you just do one now. We will see depending on the time.
Okay, I'll see which one. Okay, I think we
Whatever
can
you want, you share.
Okay. Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yes. Can you make it a full screen and then go one by one? Very good. Okay,
Yes,
cutting one's nose to spoil another's journey. Let's see the story. Go ahead, dear. Next slide. In a village, there lived two neighboring friends in a close affinity, but subsequently they were at odds with each other. One was named Shushanta, another was named Kritanta. It's better to go on pilgrimage for some time to be away from Kritanta, this person thought. Okay, let's go on a pilgrimage so that I just don't have to be bothered by him. There would be hardly any chance to harass. Okay, 1 minute. Okay. There would be hardly any chance to harass Shushanta if he left to the village. So by hook or crook, the Shushanta should be compelled to stay in the village, and thus I can have an opportunity to pick a quarrel with him every now and then. See, what is Kritanta thinking? Kritanta, he just wants to fight and quarrel with Sushanta, and that's why he wanted him to say. Some people have that desire to keep on quarreling, becoming angry, shouting at people. So what happens is that builds up in you, and when you develop that nature over and over, it will become your second nature. So that's why whenever parents say don't get angry, you stop immediately. Oh, I am getting angry, I should just stop this because it's just not good for me, because that will become your nature eventually, and that is a bad association for you to have it. Shushanta believes in some unfolded weird superstitions. For instance, he considered it very inauspicious to see on an onset of a journey anyone whose nose is somehow or other amputated. So somehow he had this false superstitions. When somebody's nose is amputated, then he feels that is inauspicious. Better I take upon this opportunity to stop his journey by amputating my nose just when Shushanta is starting for Puri. Okay, let me do something to my nose so that when Shushanta sees me, then he will not go on his pilgrimage, because it is inauspicious. When when a cat crosses your way, then something inauspicious. Some superstitions are there that when cat crosses the way, then it is superstitious. So people will refrain to go to another place. So when he sees his amputated nose, then maybe this guy will avoid going to the pilgrimage. He took a seat in front of Shushanta's house with his amputated nose exhibited conspicuously. Oh, what an inauspicious sign of starting a journey to Puri. Better I should immediately. What is it? Aditi, I'm not able to see. What is this? No. Go to the next slide. Better I should immediately. What is cancel my pilgrimage? So he's saying, Shushanta is saying, I should cancel my pilgrimage because I saw this as inauspicious person. I cannot go any further more to pilgrimage. So what is the purport? Atheists behave similarly in plotting ominous designs even at their own heavy cost, so that Vaishnavas can never make good progress in devotional practices. These atheists do their own spiritual harm foolishly by creating disturbances on the way of Vaishnavas' journey towards Vaikuntha Loka. So,
Mataji, can we listen to another one?
Yeah, we can. So the moral of the story, can anybody explain this to me? What is this person Kritanta acting as? And
You
what is this?
shouldn't disturb another person's path towards Krishna.
Yes, very, very good point, Suraj. Wonderful job. Congratulations. So this is what we learn from the story. We should never disturb anybody in their path of spiritual progress. So you can actually you increase their faith in Krishna consciousness, but never decrease their faith. Somebody like Mantra coming and disturbing Kaikeyi falls prey to Mantra, right?
Papa,
So this kind of association.
Mama,
Yeah, Varun, Aditya.
Mama.
Aditya, you're on unmute.
Yeah. Should I
Uh,
go on to the next thing?
yeah, so you can, that's what is the understanding. So do you all understand the purport or the understanding from this particular slide? So now we
Yes,
can go into the next one. We have 3 minutes. We'll see how much ever we can cover.
Okay.
How many, just make sure we have 8 or how many is there? How many slides are there?
One, 2, 3.
Okay, let's just go.
There's only 6
No problem.
slides.
Good, we can finish off. Okay. Once a bald man was going to the city and happened to walk under a dale tree. This guy is bald, meaning he doesn't have hair. It hurt me very much because of his bald head. Next day, the same thing happened while he was passing ahead under the same dale tree. Okay. I shall never walk this path. It hurts me because I am bald-headed. He feels hurt because, see, people are so conscious about their hair. When they lose their hair, they feel bad. After a few days, one of his friends was walking along with him on the same way when they had to pass under the bale tree. I will not go that way. Let's turn from here, like that he said. How often does a bald-headed man visit a bale tree and get hurt? Similarly, no one having bitter experience likes to pass along the same track in his lifetime. So this person was bald, and every time when he passed under the bale tree, some bales will fall on him and it will hit his head. So he was feeling the pain. Oh, I'm not going to go in this way. I'm not going to go in this way. I have no hair. So this is what he was feeling. And the purport is that lot of people may not follow this very simple example. While they may suffer many times the same misery in this illusionary material world, they do seem to be wise as shaven-headed man in the story. An intelligent person comes to his senses from the very first bitter experience of illusionary sufferings. One who frequently undergoes the same kind of misery is nothing but an example of most foolish living entity. So can anybody explain me what they're trying to say through the story?
Nay, say it, Mataji.
Yeah, go ahead.
One in the material world, like should not go the same path again when they're going to Krishna, like consciousness. Like they shouldn't go.
No. So they are trying to say that. See, does somebody else want to say? Try. So they are trying to say that, see, say for example, when you are having one misery in your lifetime, okay, you are just facing one misery. And when we understand the root cause of the misery, we will not again have that same misery. Say, when we come into Krishna consciousness, when we are absorbed in Krishna, the misery is not going to be felt as much as a person who's not in Krishna consciousness. Only a foolish person will have the same kind of misery over and over again. But an intelligent person, one who knows Krishna, he will not have the same misery again and again. That is what it is meaning. That is what is sensed through this moral story. If you don't understand, we can definitely go over this next time to make it more clear. But for now, that is the understanding. I can reiterate it next class also. We just brush through this
Mataji,
particular. Yes, dear, go ahead.
can we do the last story quickly?
No, dear, we are out on time.
Okay.
See, it's 5:15 here. So next class, we will do more. That's why I kept 3 stories just to be on the safer side. But what we'll do next class is we'll go through the story and then we'll go through 2 more stories, okay? Or 2 or 3, depending on time. All right.
Mataji, could we please like have this, have the third story? Like, I think a lot of people would be okay with that.
Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, are we not having Madhava class? Is Mataji there? If we have Madhava class, we need to go. But if you don't
No, Mataji,
have
there is
Madhava
no
class, I don't
Madhava
mind
class.
it.
I'm here listening to everyone. Yes, there is no Madhava
Okay.
class, I think so. So far, there is no notification on the group. So you can continue with one more story as all kids are demanding it.
Yay!
Okay, last story. Okay, good
Can you
job.
see it?
Yeah, I can see, dear Adi.
Okay.
Aditya, make it full screen, Kana, and put one more. Okay, the blacksmith and the potter. Next slide, Kana. In the village, Bilaspur, there lived a blacksmith named Vamacharan. Okay, this guy blacksmith. Once he went to his potter friend in Haripur. Oh, my friend Vamacharan, so nice to see you. You seem to be so busy with lots of orders. Let me help you with your work. In this way, we can finish all the work faster and then spend time together. Oh, so nice of you, my friend. Please help me whichever way you can. I'm kind of swamped with this work. See how nice the friend is helping him, okay? The blacksmith observed that the potter is working with the hammer. Okay, he's working with the hammer as you can see. No, Aditya, wait. Let me help my friend finish the order faster. So he's doing it really fast, it looks like. He thought, I can give better shape to these pots using my expertise. This will make my friend happy too. So this is what he was doing. Vamacharan began hampering the pots to improve their shapes. Okay, and then I'm kind of curious. While he was trying to help his friend, Vamacharan ended up breaking. Oh my God. So can you believe he was using the hammer and finally trying to help his friend? He broke all the pots. Oh my God, that's really sad story. The manner in which the blacksmith hammers iron is different from the technique which the potter uses to model the clay, right? The potter uses the thing he knows the technique. Also, although both blacksmith and potter use hammer, their techniques are quite different. A materialistic worker usually develops a conception that devotional service offered by a devotee for the satisfaction is akin to sense gratification material activities. As such, they belong to the same category. So, I mean, at the end of the day, see, the materialist may do the same kind of activity and the devotee may do the same kind of activity. Say, for example, an act of bathing. Okay, we all take bath, right? Are we taking bath or not? In the morning, are we
Yes,
taking bath? Yes,
I
we
do.
all take bath. Shower, we all take shower, right? But why do we shower? We shower so that we can enter into the puja room, we can perform chanting in a fresh way, we can have our mind cleansed. So that is the reason we perform bathing. The same act is performed by a materialist who's no relationship with Krishna, or he doesn't know about Krishna, but he also does the act of bathing. But those two acts of bathing are different, right? The devotee, he wants to bathe to worship the Lord, to do chanting more nicely. But then a materialist, he bathes, he has to go to office, he should look fragrant and nice and fresh. He wants to attract so many people he comes across, and that is why he wants to take a shower. So the act may be similar, but the intentions are different. Likewise, here the techniques are different, but the person, they both are using the hammer, the technique is different. That is the understanding. We may perform the same activities, but one materialist, he does it to satisfy the senses. A devotee does it to satisfy the senses of Krishna. Are you all able to understand, kids? What is the purpose of each of the activities for a devotee versus a materialist?
Yes, Mataji.
Good job, Isha. You're just so keenly listening to Bhagavatam and moral stories. So good, dear. Very, very attractive. All right. So with this, we will end our class today, kids. Hope you're all happy. I'm also happy because of Vinita Mataji's approval, we were able to do this. And thank you, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, for supporting us through the session. And thank you, Aditya. And thank you, kids. So let's see you all next week. Let's pay our obeisances. So Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Radhika
Vinita
Kasturi
Mataji
Mataji
Jai.
ki Jai. Okay, safe
Hare
drive to the
Krishna.
home, Mataji. Safe drive. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Hare
Bye.
Krishna,
Hare Krishna.
Mataji.
Bye bye.
Hare Krishna.